We're going to start little picture here, guys. Let's start with the possession that leads to the Hart three that basically wins the game and wins the series for the Knicks. Let's unpack it because I know you have a lot of issues.
I cannot wait to slowly break this down for you at 8:30 when I do it live. It was a microcosm of the bigger issue, and it's the reason why the Knicks won. The Knicks were so much better execution-wise, even defensively with scattering report down the stretch throughout the course of all these games in Philadelphia's perimeter. And it was a complete breakdown. Now, I know that they were trying to get the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hand. I know part of the scatter report was to allow Josh Hart shot opportunities doubling off of Josh Hart. But the way that they just that was lazy defense down the stretch, and Josh Hart made them pay. And it was a great recognition by Jalen Brunson as well.
So here's the tape that we're going to break down a little more in detail, but here's the tape here. Tell me what you're seeing.
Well, first off, I don't even know why they're doubling. It's still so early. You have 28 seconds left in the game, 17 seconds left on the shot clock, and there was no action. There was no action at all. And then Tyrese Maxey has to make a decision. He's going to stay home with Donte DiVincenzo. It's going to allow Josh Hart to be wide open. But why even blitz that early in the possession?
Let me get Chiney in on this because, look, I defer to all of your expertise. It seems to me that if your options are Jalen Brunson, who's been killing you all series, right, Donte DiVincenzo, who's one of the best three-point shooters in the league, or Josh Hart, if you're Philly, you're going to live with Josh Hart.
You double team him with 35 seconds left to go in the game.
You tell me. Jump in here, Chiney.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson, I think people forget that starting the series, it was slow for him. And we saw the Sixers scouting report, as Jay alluded to, that they wanted all players not named Jalen Brunson to beat them. This was from game one. And guess what? Josh Hart got that confidence to close the series from game one because that's exactly what the Knicks supporting cast did. They have been shooting the ball well when it matters most. And I think nobody is a better example than Josh Hart. This is a guy that shoots 31% from three in the regular season. They wanted him to take those shots. He made the right read. I'm not mad at them for trying to get the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands. That guy on the road averaged 42 points in this series on the road. Now, more importantly, he's also averaged 12 assists on the road. And so he knows how to get the ball. Even when, Jay, you were talking about it, why did you blitz that early? It's because he sort of lost his handle a little bit. I think the play was a little destabilized based off of their aggression defensively. But the problem then was that Brunson still found the right guy. And so they had the right idea, just the wrong overall guy shooting, because Josh Hart has been shooting so well when it matters most. 3 for 5 from three versus his regular 31%. I'm not mad at the Sixers for this strategy, but they should have known since game one it was not working the way they planned.
He was 3 for 5 from three last night. DiVincenzo was 5 for 9 from three last night. Alan, you were there in the building. That sequence, take me through it.
Yeah, well, again, it's always about the recognition, but the chemistry. Let's start with the fact that they all know each other, trust each other. That's important, too. That Villanova connection, that you can't overlook because they just have that innate, like, I know where you're going to be and I trust you're going to make that shot. And Hart, he talked about this going into the series. He said he knew Nick Nurse was going to leave him open all series. He's like, I'd leave me open all series. He shot 31% from three-point range. He made 4 threes each in the first 3 games of the series to set that tone of, I'm ready for this. He spent the whole week before the series practicing, putting up shots, knowing, I got to make these. He's a guy that doesn't make a lot of threes, but he makes big ones, and there's no bigger one than that.
Those guys have all those banners in that building. Wendy, a thought on this, if you would. A thought on Jalen Brunson getting it done here and these supporting guys, this Villanova group that I think was so critical to the Knicks winning the series.
These 3 games that Jalen Brunson just had in a row, 3 consecutive 40-point games, are iconic in Knicks history. The Knicks don't have a very illustrious playoff history. You got to go back into non-HD programming to get a lot of it. Jalen Brunson delivering under this pressure on the road in this environment when these skin-tight games are huge, and this is excellent coaching. Brunson knows he's going to get double-teamed. It's an execution of space. He stretches the floor out, creating the space. He did the same thing at the end of Game 5 that got Miles McBride a shot. Everybody in New York thought that was going to be the winner of the series. It turned out it came a game later on a very similar, smart play.
So we'll take a moment when we get the big picture here in a minute. What Jay is freaking out
because first off, Wendy's point is correct about the impact of Brunson.
Right.
But his point about he knew he was going to, everybody knew he was going to get double teamed.
Right.
Why are you double teaming when everybody knows you're going to double team down the stretch? There's not even movement in the play.
Oubre went to order something in the front row.
Guys,
you know what, Jay?
The lack of
Jay,
discipline.
Oubre loses leverage.
Yes.
Oubre loses leverage and almost falls out of bounds.
Right.
That's not part of the design. That's just Jalen Brunson cornering very hard and knocking Oubre off balance. That's what happened.
I know Tyrese Maxey didn't have a good night last night. He scored 17 points on, what was his numbers? 6 of 18 shooting last night. But he got hot in the fourth quarter.
Yes, he did.
And at the end of the day, just like if you're the Knicks, if you're the Sixers defensively, you're going to say, I'm going to live and die with Hart taking the shot.
Yes.
I know Buddy Hield had a good night last night. But that ball's got to be in Tyrese Maxey's hand at the end of the game.
So I agree. I'll ask the question, why is Tyrese Maxey bumping into the backcourt? Tell me that. I mean, if you're trying to get your best player the ball.
It's the same play that he won the game with, or at least forced overtime.
Do they have time?
With
Is there
3.5
enough
seconds
time
left
there
to
to
go?
do it?
Yeah,
So
he's fast enough. If he catches that slingshot right into the over half court and take another three and try to send the game into, I mean, that's literally what he was trying to do.
But in the last game, he had way more time because he had a full downhill head of steam right there with 3.5 seconds left to go. I'm going to put that on coaching. I'm going to put that. If you're going to try to put the ball in the hands of your best player with 3.5 seconds left to go, I'm not going to bump him into the backcourt. I'm going to try to get some.
I'm not criticizing that because you want to create space for him to use his speed properly, and he is so good at using speed, taking a foul. That's what they were trying to get there.
But if
That's
you're gonna,
the other part of it is the foul of it all.
Yep.
Agree, but
right?
you're gonna
You run him into the backcourt after what happened the other night. The Knicks are going to grab him immediately. Chiney, get in here with me. I mean, look,
get him off a shot.
As always, I defer to the expertise of all of you who played, but it does seem to me if I'm the Sixers, I'm going to go down with Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid taking my final shot.
Yeah, I would too, but I'm not mad. I personally was not mad at Buddy Hield considering the game that he had. I was more so mad at the way that he shot it with the shot clock going up. I felt like you had time to rip through, shake off your defender, take a dribble, and throw it up, not just sort of chunk it from your shoulder, because that's never really giving a good opportunity to shoot. But I will say this, Jay. You guys should remember, a lot of players in this NBA postseason have found success coming downhill. How did Tyrese Halliburton do it not too long ago? Now Tyrese Maxey too, Jalen Brunson. They like to get their guards that are undersized downhill. 3.5 seconds to me is enough because we've seen successful heaves. But still, I wasn't mad at the shooter.
I think you guys are missing
I was
something.
more so mad.
Now the give.
Yeah.
Well, let me get Windy in. Go ahead.
I think you guys are missing something.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid had fouled out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, they had to get the foul, so Joel Embiid's out of the game. So they don't have their typical late game high screen action where Embiid creates gravity. So they're in their backup sets. They don't have the set options that freed Maxey for those 2 3-pointers. And I don't think that can be underrated. Obviously, it was not a good time situation. It was not, they had to chase him down here. Embiid gets the foul. Obviously, Hield has to realize he's got 3 seconds. He doesn't have to shoot it like he's got 1 second. That's on him. But Nick Nurse was in the back of the playbook here. That Embiid having to take that foul, the Knicks being very smart and throwing the ball around, and Embiid having to foul out. It was when you're talking about 1 point over 6 games, it's the little teeny things. Embiid being on the bench was that extra 5-10% that hurt their chances.
Yeah, he took the foul there, and that was how he fouled out. You saw the play there. Okay, we can do little picture all morning long. We will. We have to go big picture a minute. Cindy, give me full screen number 1. And Windy touched on this. Jalen Brunson just had, and this is not an exaggeration of any sort. I know I am at times prone to hyperbole. Jalen Brunson just had one of the greatest stretches in NBA postseason history. The last 4 games of this series, he averaged over 40 points, 10 assists on nearly 50% shooting. He scored at least 39 points in all 4 games. The last player to do that in any 4-game postseason stretch was Michael Jordan in 1993. Alan, again, for those who don't know, you work at MSG, you cover this team, you know them, and you have been around them forever. This is not one of the great performances in Knick history. This is one of the great performances in postseason history.
I've covered this team as a sports writer and also as a broadcaster for the last almost 20 years. And then I've followed this team as a kid all the way back to the 80s. This is one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in my lifetime. And now, I know the Knicks haven't won a lot, but in the 90s, they were in the playoffs every year, going deep and having epic games. I've never seen anything like this by a singular player. And also when you think about it too, 4 straight, right? You go back to Jordan. Bernard King did it in '84 as well against the Detroit Pistons. But 6 is the record. That's Jerry West.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about, the kind of company that he is in right now.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it because I really feel it. I really think Jalen Brunson is going to go down as one of the greatest Knicks, if not the greatest Knick ever. When it's all said and done.
You need a ring on your finger to do that.
I understand that needs to happen.
Got 2.
I understand that needs to happen, and I understand Walt Clyde Frazier is one of he is there.
Yeah.
That's why I said one of, or maybe the greatest.
Listen, if that happens,
because
I love it.
What's
Love
happening, the impact on the culture of the organization is something that I feel like is not being pushed up to the top of this conversation. And everybody wants to win because he sets the culture foundation for the Knicks.
Windy, you and I are having this conversation this morning. As we analyze the magnitude of the signing, bear in mind how it is that he wound up on this team and the circumstances in which he did. Windy, take it from there.
This is a grade A franchise-changing transaction through free agency. When you look back over the last 30 years, you're talking about Shaq, Magic to the Lakers. You're talking about LeBron, Cavs to the Heat, and then back to the Cavs. You're talking about Durant to the Warriors. Jalen Brunson is entering that conversation, and he's making vastly less than the max. It's arguable that he has got one of the best value contracts in all of American pro sports right now. That's what these mean to this team, that not only is he carrying this team, but the Knicks' future is incredibly bright. This is like having Patrick Mahomes on his rookie contract, except that he was signed away. You didn't draft him. You found him. And Leon Rose stuck his neck out. People thought it was favoritism because he was his godfather, because he knew him since he was a baby. No, it was brilliance. It was brilliance that has changed the direction of the Knicks franchise, and now here they are with a swinging chance to have their deepest playoff run in decades.
Chiney, pick it up on Jalen Brunson. I mean, the season he had, people didn't start taking the Knicks that seriously, I think, until fairly deep into the year. Then they had the injuries. Brunson just carried them through it. What are your thoughts this morning on Jalen Brunson?
Well, to me, people should have kept their eyes and taken them seriously, especially when they won, in my opinion, the trade deadline, and they added the championship piece of OG Anunoby, because now you see a confluence of players that go as their leader goes in Jalen Brunson, players that have the identity of doing the dirty work. Success in New York gets immortalized, and it feels like the basketball gods of Spalding and Wilson are smiling upon Jalen Brunson for what he has been able to achieve. I don't think people truly understand that this guy, who Alan can explain better, it's 6'2", 6'3", absolutely controls the game from a scoring vantage point while also empowering his teammates in a passing standpoint. I again say that he averaged 12 assists in this series to pair with his 35 points. His ability to not only finish shots when it matters most, but also draw fouls, stopping on a dime. I know a lot of people got mad at that, stopping on a dime and that foul by Kelly Oubre, but he is just so savvy. You have personality that matches New York, basketball IQ, also that contagious energy and just that make you believe that allows Donte DiVincenzo to shoot the ish out of the ball and also play every minute of a game. Josh Hart to shoot the shots that matter most. His post players dominating the boards, they go as he goes, and this was by design, not only just from his standpoint of the success this season, but his overall trajectory as an underrated chip on the shoulder type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind, the contract that Windy is talking about, his former team, the Dallas Mavericks, looked at it and said, oh, that's too much. Yep. And there's no way in the world we can go $100 million on Jalen Brunson.
Randy, by the way, everybody in media was talking about how they overpaid for Jalen Brunson. Now we're saying it's the best value contract in all of American sports. Think about that.
You got to prove it.
Bear in mind also, Rick Carlisle was the coach of the Mavericks, played him 10 minutes in Game 7 of a playoff series that they lost, and now they play each other in the next round. Windy brought that up to me this morning, and we're going to get to that in a minute. We'll get to the Bucks and the Pacers and all that last night. Also, just to finish up the thought on Jalen Brunson, if he's 6'3", I'm a Newt Bowl. Okay, that guy's no X1.
That's right.
There's video
I
of
was
me
being
interviewing him
generous.
on the court at the Garden, and you can see that he is clearly not
No,
6'3".
I get it. He's listed at 6'3", Chiney. I'm not disagreeing with
But think
that. I'm
about
just
it.
saying.
He
Thank
also,
you.
though, all his scoring at 6'2" is done in the paint. That's another thing to think about. Him, Nikola Jokic, Giannis, they are leading the league in paint scoring. Only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the other guard that's in the top
And
5.
by the way, those 40-point games were against guys who are 6'6", 6'7", and 6'8".
Yep.
With almost 7-foot wingspans, and Nicholas Batum, and you talk about Kelly Oubre.
I mean, the things that he's doing, he put himself in the company of Michael Jordan last night. He also put himself in the company of Oscar Robertson, the only players with 3 games of 35 and 10 in a single postseason series. He didn't just, again, for the people around the country, Knick fans go nuts on stuff like this. One of the greatest Knick performances of all time. It's way more than that. This is genuinely one of the greatest postseason series any individual player has ever had.